In this video, I'm looking at the LZ Hi-Fi LZ-A7. What's cracking audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. So here is the LZ-A7. Now this is a tri-hybrid or a tribrid unit, meaning it's got 3 different types of drivers in it. It's got 1 dynamic driver, 4 balanced armature drivers and 2 piezoelectric drivers for a total of 7 per side. And let's get into it. So there's other things that need to be mentioned about this earphone. First of all, it has a crossover switch on each earpiece. I'll talk about that more in detail later. And in addition to that, it has 5 sets of tuning filters, so that potentially gives you a total of 10 different tuning options in one earphone, which is pretty impressive. Before we go any further, this is the box, kind of a wooden box, a little bit ugly in terms of color scheme, but the box itself is quite good. Here is the carrying case that you get. It's not suitable for throwing in a jeans pocket, that's for sure, but it is a rigid case, so will do a really good job of protecting your earphones if they're in a bag, for example. Quite nice. So let's start off with the physical build of the earphones, and we'll come in a bit closer. Right, so here is the shell. There is the switch. It goes between monitor mode and pop mode. Before we go any further, I'll quickly explain what the switch does. In monitor mode, the sound signature is basically it's more linear, which means the bass, the mid-range and treble are all more even with each other in relation to each other. In pop mode, however, the mid-range gets pulled back a bit, so you end up with a more conventional light V-shaped signature, which gives a little bit more extra emphasis on the bass and the treble. Okay, so I guess I should explain these filters a bit now. I have already talked about the switch there. In addition to the switch, you get 5 pairs of tuning filters, which are silver, blue, black, gold and red. And in terms of sound, the red is the bassiest one and the silver is the brightest one, with black supposedly being the bassline or neutral in the middle. And what the filters do, they basically alter the mid-range the most, or the upper mid-range in the frequency response, which subsequently alters the entire sound signature. It's very difficult to explain the sound of the LZ-A7 because there are so many tuning variables, but there are certainly some characteristics that it has that I'll lay down for you. It's got a nice punchy bass. It has amazing detail retrieval. It's very detailed sound, good clarity throughout regardless of which configuration you're using. The level of resolution is fantastic for something in this price range, and they have a nice large soundstage with good precise imaging as well. So to break it down a little bit, keep in mind that whatever I talk about here, it does get affected by the different modes, so just keep that in mind, but I'll do my best. In terms of bass, these have a nice bass. It's quite a dynamic bass, and what I mean by that is it adapts to whichever track it's playing. It can be a low-key bass, or it can be a full up-front, quite powerful bass. But it's definitely not a bass head earphone. The quantity of the bass is only a little bit north of neutral, so it's not a big emphasized bass. There's a little bit more emphasis on the sub bass than there is the mid bass. So these do get a nice rumble going, which is satisfying, and the bass is reasonably fast. It has a fairly fast attack and a medium speed decay, so it has a nice natural weight to it, and there's a lot of good texture in the bass too. You often hear texture on the bass guitar and things like that, which is very nice. So moving on to the mid-range now, and the mid-range is probably the most impressive part for me, and what I love most about it is the natural tone. It's got a very good natural timbre, and the resolution is fantastic. And what I mean is each element or each sound is compartmentalized in its own little space. There isn't any blurring between the sounds. It's a very clean mid-range, and the clarity is fantastic, which is in part due to the treble, which I'll get to in a moment. But male and vocals sound really good, particularly in monitor mode. They're a bit fuller in monitor mode compared to pop mode. But overall, the mid-range on these is really, really nice, very detailed and nuanced. Finally, let's get on to the treble now, and the treble is nice, it's precise, it's detailed, it's crisp, and however it can be a little bit edgy sometimes. It does sort of border on sibilance on some occasions, particularly with the silver and the blue filter, and even with the red filter, which is the bassiest or the safest filter, that upper treble from sort of 8 to 11 kilohertz, maybe just from memory, gets a little bit lively, and there is a little bit of tinge of brightness and maybe thinness in the treble, in the upper treble. It could be due to the piezo drivers, it could be just the tuning, I'm not sure. But if you are a treble sensitive listener, then these might not be for you. Although myself, I don't really have any trouble with these. But if you are listening to inherently sibilant or sharp recordings, then this will definitely not do you any favors in that regard. But overall, it's a beautiful sound. It can be linear or V-shaped depending on the switch, and then from there you can really alter the core and upper mid-range with the tuning filters as well. So it's very versatile. And you know, I was actually going to do some comparisons with the Dunu DK3001 Pro here and the ANU X1, but as I started into my comparisons, it just got a little bit too much, because at one stage I was kind of thinking, okay, this one has a more forward mid-range, the mids and vocals are a bit more forward and intimate, and then I thought, hang on, but if I change the switch over, which I did, suddenly the mid-range and vocals were up forward, similar to these ones. So it just got really messy really quickly, and I thought there's just no point in making comparisons, because the sound can vary so much on the A7 that it's really, I could go into all this detail about how it sounds, and then maybe you buy it and you'll have a listen and you say, hang on, that's not what you said. But you know, I'm doing the best I can. I will tell you that I love these. I think they are fantastic, and I forgot to mention the price. Of course, they are, I think, $333 US. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below. And my overall thoughts, these are fantastic, to be honest. If you are shopping for something in the $300 price range, definitely consider these. They are quite immaculate, very technical, adept technically. The detail, the resolution, fantastic. Nice clean bass, lively sparkly treble. And so yeah, check out the A7. And That's about it for this video. If you want to see more detailed review, check out the written review. There's a link in the description below. Of course, there's links to all the social stuff down there as well, Instagram, Discord, and Facebook. So if you liked this video, give it a like, PowerFam audiophile style. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see more videos like this in the future, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And until next time, see you later.